When the Oberon returned, we thought we were witnessing history. We thought we had succeeded where no one else had, becoming the first humans to visit another habitable world. But the truth was much darker. What they brought back wasn't hope or knowledge. It was the beginning of the end. I know because I was sent to stop it, to erase them, and I failed. Before we dive into this chilling tale, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. The day the Oberon landed was one of celebration. I remember the throngs of people waving banners, chanting the astronauts' names, and watching in awe as the heroes emerged from their craft. They looked perfect, too perfect. Commander William Cross, a man of unwavering determination, led the team down the ramp with an almost regal presence. Dr. Lila Harris, the brilliant biologist, smiled warmly. Victor Cho, the quiet but ingenious engineer, waved awkwardly, and Elena Sharp, the team's calm and collected medical officer, gave the cameras a reassuring smile. At first glance, they were everything we wanted them to be, symbols of human ingenuity. But something felt off. In hindsight, it was obvious. Their smiles didn't quite reach their eyes. Their movements were too precise, too measured, as if they were mimicking how humans should behave. The mission had changed them, though no one wanted to admit it then. The celebrations continued. But behind the scenes, those of us tasked with debriefing and monitoring the crew began noticing anomalies. Commander Cross was the first to report strange symptoms. "Just nightmares," he had said during his initial psych evaluation. He described wandering through vast, alien corridors filled with a low, humming noise. The walls pulsed like they were alive, and he always felt like he was being watched. Dr. Harris mentioned something similar. A recurring dream of glowing blue orbs, moving as if they were alive, surrounding her, whispering in a language she didn't understand. She dismissed it as post-mission stress. Then there was the physical aspect. Routine medical scans revealed odd cellular mutations, nothing harmful at first, just unusual. Their DNA showed signs of subtle changes, sequences that didn't match any known human genome. Their reflexes were sharper, their strength slightly above baseline, and their metabolisms were impossibly efficient. Despite the anomalies, they insisted they felt fine. "We're just readjusting," Cross assured us. But that was before the sleepwalking began. Cross was found standing in his backyard one night, staring at the sky. He didn't remember how he got there. Dr. Harris woke up to find scratches on her arms, as if she'd been clawing at something in her sleep. Sharp was the first to openly admit she felt different. "Sometimes I hear things," she confessed during a private interview. "Voices, but not like human voices. It's like they're inside me." Victor Cho, always the skeptic, brushed it off. "We've been through hell and back. Our bodies are adapting. It's nothing." But his words didn't match his actions. He began isolating himself, refusing to meet with anyone, even his own family. Their public appearances became unsettling. The warmth and camaraderie they displayed during the mission briefings were gone. They spoke in monotone, as if rehearsing a script. Those close to them described a growing sense of unease, a feeling that the astronauts weren't entirely human anymore. The breaking point came 2 months after their return. Victor Cho disappeared. He had been missing for 3 days when the authorities found him in an abandoned warehouse. The scene was horrific. Victor's body was twisted and deformed, his limbs elongated and joints bent at unnatural angles. His skin was riddled with glowing blue veins, and his eyes were completely black. He attacked the officers who tried to help him, moving with an inhuman speed. His voice was a guttural growl, punctuated by distorted screeches. They shot him repeatedly, but it took a dozen bullets to bring him down. When they brought his body in for examination, the true horror was revealed. An alien parasite, previously dormant, had overtaken his system. It had replaced his DNA with its own, transforming him from the inside out. Victor's death marked the beginning. Dr. Harris was next. She disappeared from her home one night, only to resurface days later. A hiker found her wandering a forest, naked and covered in blue, bioluminescent markings. She wasn't herself anymore. Her body had sprouted spines along her back, her fingers ending in razor-sharp claws. She attacked the hiker, infecting him. From there, it spread. The parasite wasn't just transforming its hosts. It was using them to propagate itself. Those bitten or scratched became carriers, their transformation slower but just as inevitable. And it wasn't random. The infected were coordinated, working together like a hive mind. While the outbreak grew, a desperate team of scientists and intelligence analysts worked around the clock, poring over the corrupted data retrieved from the Oberon. The spacecraft's black box contained fragmented recordings, garbled audio logs, and brief visual snapshots that were nearly indecipherable. When the fragments were finally pieced together, the truth that emerged was more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. The crew of the Oberon had not merely stumbled upon alien ruins. They had walked into a trap laid millennia ago. Kepler 442b was not a barren wasteland as the crew had initially reported. It had once been teeming with life. The towering structures glimpsed in the corrupted footage were remnants of a highly advanced civilization that had been systematically eradicated. Their conquerors, the parasites, were not organic in the traditional sense. They were bioweapons, artificial constructs designed to infiltrate and repurpose biological hosts. In one recording, Dr. Harris can be heard describing the structures in awe. These aren't just buildings, they're something alive. The walls, they breathe. And the hum, it's constant, like a heartbeat. It's almost hypnotic. But the most damning evidence was from Commander Cross's body camera, the final transmission before the mission logs went dark. The footage showed the crew venturing deep into an alien structure, drawn by an otherworldly glow emanating from its center. At the heart of the structure was a pulsating mass of light and energy, surrounded by undulating tendrils that seemed to react to the crew's presence. As they approached, the tendrils lashed out, piercing their suits. Cross's voice could be heard shouting, his words distorted by static. "Get back! Something's." The video cut off, but subsequent logs suggested the crew lost several hours of time, waking outside the structure with no memory of what had occurred. The damage was done. The parasites had embedded themselves within the astronauts, lying dormant during the return journey to Earth. Kepler 442b was not a discovery. It was a warning. The civilization that had once thrived there had fallen, leaving behind their weapons in the form of the parasites. These were not relics. They were bait, designed to spread to new worlds. The crew of the Oberon were never meant to survive. They had been sent back as carriers, their bodies now Trojan horses for an invasion Earth couldn't comprehend. As the truth about the parasites came to light, the infected astronauts were already losing their battle against the transformation. Commander Cross, once a symbol of leadership and strength, was frequently seen wandering aimlessly at night. Surveillance footage captured him moving through the city in a daze, but something about his movements was unnatural, too fluid, almost predatory. One night, a security camera caught him stalking a man through an alleyway. His movements were quiet and calculated, his silhouette unervingly distorted in the dim light. When he reached his prey, the transformation happened in an instant. Cross's jaw unhinged like a snake's, his skin splitting to reveal a grotesque array of needle-like teeth. He bit into the man's neck, not to kill, but to infect. The man stumbled away, clutching at the wound, unaware that the parasite was already taking root in his body. Dr. Harris, fully consumed by the parasite, was even more terrifying. Her spined, contorted form had become something monstrous, a nightmare of elongated limbs and razor-sharp appendages. She no longer avoided contact with humans. She actively hunted them. Elena Sharp, in one of her rare lucid moments, left a video message before disappearing. "They're taking over. It's not just our bodies, they're rewriting our minds. I can feel it, like whispers at the back of my skull. They're erasing me. If I lose control, you have to kill me." The spread of the parasite accelerated. Within weeks, entire cities fell into chaos. The infected began operating in packs, using their human guises to blend in during the day. The military scrambled to contain the outbreak, but they were fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Infected individuals were faster, stronger, and seemingly impervious to pain. Bullets slowed them, but only heavy artillery or fire could ensure a kill. Worse still, the parasites seemed to adapt, with each new host exhibiting enhanced coordination and resistance to known countermeasures. The infected operated with eerie precision, using their remaining human memories to outwit their pursuers. Families vanished overnight, entire neighborhoods turned into hives. Survivors spoke of hearing whispers in the dark, followed by the sensation of being watched. By the time they realized they were surrounded, it was too late. As society began to crumble, governments worldwide declared martial law. Cities were quarantined, but the parasites spread too quickly. Refugee camps became breeding grounds for infection, with chaos and paranoia tearing through the human ranks as surely as the parasites themselves. The worst came when the alien ships finally arrived. Unlike the dramatic invasions humanity had imagined, the aliens didn't come with blaring sirens or devastating weapons. Their ships descended in near silence, massive, sleek vessels that hovered ominously over the planet. At first, people thought the aliens might offer salvation, but those hopes died quickly. The ships emitted strange, pulsating signals, inaudible to human ears but devastatingly effective on the infected. Under the influence of these signals, the infected became fully controlled. They moved as one, abandoning any remaining human traits and becoming a unified, ruthless army. The alien presence confirmed what we had feared. The parasites were not just invaders, they were soldiers. Kepler 442b had been a testing ground, and Earth was the next conquest. The aliens didn't need to fight us. They had already won. My role in this nightmare came too late to make a difference. I was part of an elite task force, a last-ditch effort to strike at the heart of the infection. We tracked the epicenter to a sprawling hive beneath what had once been Chicago. The city was unrecognizable, its skyline overrun with grotesque organic growths. Pulsating tendrils of alien biomass covered buildings, glowing faintly in the dark. The air was thick with spores, glowing like embers in the night. Descending into the hive was like stepping into another world. The tunnels were lined with cocoons, each one pulsating with movement. Some contained fully transformed creatures, while others held humans in the midst of their horrifying metamorphoses. Their faces were frozen in silent screams, their bodies stretched and warped as the parasite rewrote their biology. At the heart of the hive, we found Commander Cross. Cross was no longer human. His body had fused with alien machinery, his torso embedded in a massive, pulsating mass that seemed to control the hive. His eyes, glowing an intense, otherworldly blue, locked onto us as we entered. But there was something else, something horrifyingly human still clinging to what he had become. "End it," he growled, his voice a guttural mix of pain and fury. "Destroy me before they take the rest." The parasite fought back against him, his body convulsing as he struggled to regain control. Around us, the hive began to stir. The infected emerged from the shadows, their glowing eyes reflecting the dim light. We opened fire. Flamethrowers lit the tunnels, burning through the biomass and cocoons. Explosives tore apart the grotesque structures. But for every infected we killed, two more seemed to emerge. Cross screamed, his voice echoing through the hive as he begged us to finish the job. But the parasites wouldn't let us. One by one, my team fell, dragged into the darkness or impaled by the creature's claws. I was the last one standing. In the chaos, I managed to set off the charges we had placed throughout the hive. The explosion was deafening, the fire consuming everything in its path. I barely escaped, crawling through collapsing tunnels as the hive burned behind me. But I knew it wasn't enough. The hive was only one of many, and the parasites were spreading too quickly. The military had already lost contact with most of the major cities. The infection had gone global. In the weeks that followed, I wandered through the ruins of our world. The infected now outnumbered the living, their monstrous forms stalking the remnants of humanity. Survivors banded together in isolated pockets, but the infected always found them. The aliens' ships remained overhead, silent and watchful, as if observing their experiment. Occasionally, they would release pulses of light that seemed to accelerate the infection, forcing the parasites into their final, monstrous forms. I tried to warn those I encountered, but the signs of infection were everywhere. People whispered of strange dreams, of voices calling to them in the night. They woke with glowing veins beneath their skin, their eyes turning faintly blue. I saw the signs in myself. I don't know how much longer I have. Every night, I wake up in strange places, with no memory of how I got there. My hands are stained with blood I don't remember spilling. The whispers are louder now, urging me to join them, to let go. I fight it, but I know it's only a matter of time. If you're hearing this, it's already too late. We were never meant to return from Kepler 442b. The Oberon's mission wasn't a triumph. It was a delivery system. The aliens are here, and the monsters we fear, they aren't coming. They've been among us all along, and soon they'll take what's left.